Hi, welcome back, and in this video I'm going to be taking a look at my initial impressions of Project Cars 3. So I pre-ordered the title and downloaded it in advance of the midnight launch, which was very early this morning. So I managed to get about an hour and a half on it before I seriously needed to go to bed. And I want to share my initial thoughts with you on it. Now, please do keep in mind that I've only played a small amount of the career, had a look around the menus and things like that. I think I've sampled in total around about 4 cars so far, and a similar number of tracks in free play. And I wanted to talk to you about what I found, what was good and what was bad. And these are in no particular order. These are pretty much just as I wrote things down to a large degree. So the most initial things that face me is, why is it so bloody yellow? Because it is really, really yellow. Whoever designed this game really likes the colour yellow, or wanted to put it in for an immediate visual impact, because there's a lot of it, so get used to that. But once you get past that, the visuals are a real mixed bag. They honestly are. Some things look really good. They genuinely do look really good. Others, both on track and in the showroom in your garage, some of the paint finishes, they really lack any depth to them. And if I can put a comparison in, if you've ever seen Drive Club running, you'll know how good the depth to the paint finishes look in that, particularly the metallics, but even the solid colours, they got that depth that they should have in there. And the car I purchased first off in PC3 was the Evo, and in the garage on track it just looks flat and unfinished, no depth to it, which kind of robs the car of some of its shape, and that's quite patchy. Some cars look on par with their PC2 counterparts, some look worse, which is a bit odd to say the least. When you're running, I mean, judge for yourself, you're going to see plenty of footage in this video, but it's on par with PC2 most of the time. At other times we've had a bit of a downgrade. The trackside furniture and other oddities, such as helicopters hovering right above the actual track around the circuit as you're going around, they're not really for me, but they're a harmless enough distraction. Being perfectly honest, some people will love them, other people will hate them. I'm a bit on that meh side in regard to that. The replays themselves do look a bit rough. There's a bit of what appears to be screen tearing or jittering going on, and the worst offender is if you look at the bottom half of the car wheels in replays, they get very fuzzy and weird at times. I don't know the technical terminology for it, so I'm going for fuzzy and weird. But you'll see on the replay footage exactly what I mean in regard to that. I can also understand Jimmy Broadbent's point. I know he picked up a lot of stick out of context for this when he said it looks like a mobile game. Now, what he was actually referring to with regard to that was how it looked in terms of the user interface and the overall user experience as you're navigating through, particularly in your garage. And I've got to be honest, I agree. It does look like it's got the UI of a mobile game. Now, again, for some people, that won't bother them. Other people, it will just be horrendously immersion breaking. Me, I couldn't give two tosses either way, but I do agree that that's what it looks like at times. The audio, some sound better, some sound worse, some sound on par with Project Cars 2. I feel a little bit of the bottom end's gone in some of it, but in all honesty, I haven't tried enough of the vehicles on offer to really make a decent judgment call on that. One thing that I did have to check this morning on my captured footage, however, that I thought I was going slightly mad at around about 1:15 this morning, was in practice mode on replays. It sounds like either, well, I think it's over the track tannoy, it's music being played. Have a listen. Now, it's right in the background, but it's really bloody annoying because you can hear it when you're driving. You can hear it more clearly in the replays, but once you pick up on it, it's there. And quite frankly, I don't want to hear that. One of the first things I do in every racing title, if I can, is turn that volume right the way down for background music, for music in car, for music in replays, in gameplay, all of it. Don't get me wrong, I love music. I've got over 500 albums and singles on vinyl. I absolutely love music, but I don't want it in my racing games. And it's just an odd decision and very strange, quite frankly. Moving on to the physics side of things, my view is it's above the likes of Gran Turismo's and Forzas of this world, but it's below either of the previous two project cars. In terms of physics, it's certainly not all the sim we could want, as was originally claimed in the marketing for Project Cars 3. It's definitely not. It feels dumbed down, but that's a bit of a crude term for it. And I think a better way of describing it is the nuance has gone from it. Pretty much. Again, some cars feel better than others. The GT86 and the Evo feel good. They're okay. They're enjoyable enough. It's just a shock coming from playing Project Cars 2 earlier in the evening to this and feeling that fine edge has gone. In terms of bad, well, I'll start off with the car I was looking forward to trying in this, which is the Alpine A110, and it's just shocking. It's a car that you cannot, even with ABS on, brake in anything other than a straight line. If you try doing that, the back end will step out. And sorry, but no, that's not what an Alpine A10 drives like. It's simply not. The internet is not full of people driving these around at pace, crashing them everywhere. It's simply not. And then we have the Formula Rookie, where I picked up on what is quite frankly the biggest issue with the physics I found in only an hour and a half. Now, aside from the fact this is the Formula Rookie at Alton Park in the wet, a combo I know ridiculously well, which is why I wanted to use it as a benchmark. So not only has the nuance gone from it, and I'm going to be trying this a lot again because it's a benchmark car for me. I've driven Formula Fords quite a bit in reality, and it's just one I know well. That nuance has definitely gone, but the worst one for me was coming down the start-finish straight. I basically dropped it using a H-pattern shifter from fourth straight into first. Now, what should happen, particularly in the wet, but even in the dry on that, is you should immediately lock the rear axle and you should spin. You should end up facing the wrong way. Anybody who doesn't believe me, don't try this in your road car because you will have a fucking big accident. You can see for the footage yourself, all that actually happens is you slow down slightly. That's it. Now, that's just wrong in so many ways and really does underline a significant and fundamental issue with the physics model here. For the record, both Project Cars 1 and Project Cars 2 get this right. This doesn't. That is broken, quite frankly. It really is. Moving on then to other things, I haven't had to play around with the livery editor yet or the photo mode. I'm going to come back to those and do separate videos. I'm also going to do some comparison videos between PC1, PC2 and PC3, so I hope to have that kind of stuff out during the week if I can, but my main focus is going to be on trying to get a full review out for the end of the week. Other bits and pieces that are in there, Field of view is in, which is great, so you can set that. It's one of the first things I did, but no seat adjustment is present. Okay, so you cannot adjust your seating position that I found at the present moment, which is frustrating. There's no UDP apps at all. I've not found any way of getting those set up, but in all fairness, I haven't tried, but I've not seen a menu option for it, which is why I didn't bother trying. Button boxes do work. I managed to do that straight away for my lights, but there's not a lot that's needed on it because the amount of button mapping that exists now is tiny in comparison to what we had and used in the previous two titles. Moving on from that, the last couple of things. Pad and steering. Steering is now down to a handful of options. As a default, I found it far too heavy, haven't had a chance to play around with it. It doesn't feel as good or as nuanced, and that ties in with the physics, I believe, as either of the previous titles did, but it is more accessible, so it's a trade-off, I suppose. Pad, I had a quick go. It is good, without a shadow of a doubt, but it also feels like there's a lot of forced-on aids, counter-sear assist and stuff like that on there. Somebody I know from GT Planet put a video up around that, so I'll link to that down in the description for you to go and take a look, because they've had the time to put that together and have done a reasonably good job on that. No, I don't know about they've done a good job on that. Rain, as I say, with the time model, doesn't really appear to have any great effect. I managed to get to the career mode event where you move from dry to wet, and being perfectly honest, the nuance and subtlety of moving from the dry to the wet from the previous two titles, or something like Assetto Corsa Competizione, just doesn't exist. It almost feels a little bit like a simple grip multiplier of the kind that they used to use in Gran Turismo. It really does. There is no damage, so it's just visual at all, so no real damage that has any effect whatsoever in there. The career mode looks good and long with lots going on in it, but it does seem a bit grindy, but I'm going to save things like that for my proper review when I've got some good number of hours under the belt with it, so I want to try and get at least 10-15 hours with it before I give a full review. That's my target anyway. In summing up, it's a title that's got me really divided still. It did before launch, it still does now. Viewed in its own right, it's not a bad title. It's got some issues with it, as most launch titles do these days. It's not very polished, but it's a seemingly fun title that sits between the GTs and Forzas of this world and the Project Cars and the Assetto Corsas. And I know it's ironic saying a Project Car sits below past Project Cars, but there we go. I can't get around that. But this is part of the Project Car series. It's a named title in the series, and I don't care what anybody says about, oh, well, it's a different game. They've called it the same. It's Project Cars 3. That carries with it brand identity, brand connotations, and consumer expectations. If you don't get that, you don't understand marketing and how marketing works and what you do to build a brand. And to be blunt, you're wrong, okay? If you put it in a named series, that sets expectations. Fail to meet those expectations, you will piss off audience and your marketing target. That's as simple as it is. Okay. The one thing that kept coming back to me when I was playing this, and I think sums the title up best, is Gran Turismo's Kaz once said that he wanted to make a Gran Turismo for kids. Now, that's not a derogatory term. What he meant was he wanted to make a more accessible version of Gran Turismo that anybody could play and would lead into, the full Gran Turismo series. It genuinely feels like that's what SMS have made. They've made Gran Turismo for kids. Whether they plan to do that or it's a mistake, I've no idea. But that's my initial impression. This is Gran Turismo for kids. So there we go. If you agree with me or you like what you've heard, like down below. If you didn't, and I expect there's going to be quite a few, dislikes down below as well. Comment section is open. Go for it. Just remain polite. All your comments will be removed. And if you want to see more content like this, please do subscribe away. And if you want to be notified when videos get uploaded, hit the bell icon. Thanks very much, everyone. Take care.